Welcome to the Jon Myer Podcast. Today's episode, we're talking about expand your services portfolio with backup as a service for AWS. Joining us is Mike Loos. Mike is a senior product marketing manager with Veeam Cloud and Service Provider Group, a team that's dedicated to making Veeam a successful player in the cloud and managed services space. With a focus on managed services sector, Mike aims to enable service providers to provide value-added solutions to their customers while simultaneously building recurring revenue for their business. Please join me in welcoming Mike to the show. Mike, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Okay, Mike, I'm really excited about this episode. And for those of you that are watching it now, that is happening exactly right now, you are at VeeamOn or attending VeeamOn or planning to attend the online sessions. Don't worry. This will be available afterwards. Mike and I are doing this session specifically for an upcoming event that's happening. Mike, did you know that I'm a guest speaker down in VeeamOn?
You know, I heard that actually, and I'm super excited because I'm going to be there too. And I'm super excited to meet you in person, John. It's going to be awesome.
This is my first one. I'm actually very honored to be asked to come down as a guest speaker for VeeamOn, but this isn't about me. Mike, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what is a senior product marketing manager at Veeam?
Yeah, so as a senior product marketing manager here at Veeam, I support our Veeam Cloud and Service Provider community, right? So basically, our managed service providers, our cloud hosters that are leveraging our Veeam technology to build as a service solutions for their customers, right? So everything from virtualized environments, physical, the cloud, SaaS-based products as well. So combining a whole portfolio together and delivering those solutions as a service built on that Veeam-powered technology.
Okay, so delivering those services powered by Veeam technology. And our topic today is backup as a service for AWS. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, so extending your portfolio basically means that there's a lot of workloads that are moving to AWS, for instance, and most of these service providers, if they started a long time ago, they were managing a lot of on-premise environments. They had their own IaaS, their own cloud hosting environments, and then as workloads and as organizations started to move to AWS, to the cloud, if managed service providers started to see that there was an opportunity out there to protect those workloads and take care of managing those environments as well too. So they turned to vendors, like Veeam, to look for the technology that's going to support that, right? And I know it's kind of a misnomer, but a lot of folks, a lot of organizations, when they first went to the cloud, you might not know this too, John. They thought that AWS was going to take care of the backup, right? The data was protected. They moved to the cloud and they're like, we're good. We don't need backup. But as we know, and all the research backs that up, is AWS is keeping the lights on. They got enough responsibility keeping the lights on, keeping everything blinking to take care of. But the data that's in the cloud, that falls on the customer, right? That falls on the organization. It could even fall on the service provider that they've commissioned to help them with all that stuff too. So it's very, very important to have a comprehensive backup solution in place for the workloads that reside in AWS for sure. And Veeam's R&D team, our research and development team, has spent years coming up and with the solution to protect that data, and then expanding on that year after year after year. And I know you had a podcast with Sam Nichols. He's a product marketing manager as well. He's actually a director of product marketing now. But he started with these cloud solutions, and AWS was our first hyperscale cloud that we built data protection for. So he's been with it for a long time. I've learned a lot from him as well too. But my role here at Veeam is to take everything that R&D is building and position it for our service providers, and let our service providers out there know that we have the capability, we have the technology to protect these workloads that are in AWS, as well as a comprehensive program that is designed with service providers in mind, right? And with the tooling that they need to be able to deliver these as a service solutions without having to cobble together a bunch of different solutions and things like that to make something work. Veeam provides the technology that they need. One thing I do want to bring up, and it's super important when it comes to our service providers, is what we have the Veeam Service Provider Console. It's a product that we deliver to our service providers for free, and it's their RMM tool, it's their billing, it's their licensing, it's their customer onboarding, it's their single pane of glass, their dashboard for delivering multi-tenancy services to all of their customers. And it's super important because, that product itself started off, we started off with virtualization, we started off with physical endpoints, but we've rapidly advanced that product to cover SaaS solutions, the cloud solutions now too. The rich interface that it has enables our service providers to quickly, like I said, spin up those new customers, onboard them quickly, and be able to have everything that they need to run the business, not just managing the technology, but running their Veeam powered business from that single pane of glass. So it's super important. And Veeam being a 100% channel company, we put a lot of time and investment into making sure that our service provider program, meets the requirements that service providers need. And we have a lot of technologists that Veeam has hired that were service providers in their previous life, right? Or they work for a service provider. So they know what's needed, and they stay on top of the trends and the research and the things that the service providers are looking for to be able to effectively run a scalable, profitable business.
Mike, you talked about Sam. By the way, I love Sam. Sam is awesome, working with him and his engagement. He was on my podcast, and his knowledge, not only of the product, but the business and the customers behind it and the needs is something I'm always continuously learning from him. The other thing that you kind of talked about is when everybody went to the cloud, they assumed that their data was redundant and backed up. AWS or any hyperscaler is responsible for the underlying infrastructure to be managed, to be always available and always up, given their SLA. Your environment or your data and everything is your responsibility to do. So if you're not backing it up or you're not making it highly available or scalable, that's actually on you. And that was something of a learning curve for everybody going to the cloud. They assumed that their data was replicated across everything. Well, only certain services where your data is replicated, and that's if that region goes down or that service goes down. That's not if that instance goes down.
Exactly.
You jump on this console that you're talking about. And this is the first time I'm hearing about the console. Can you dive into a little bit more? What is the value of this, and how is it helping not only managed service providers, customers? What is the value of the console?
The value of the console is to give our service providers, like I said before, a single pane of glass that allows them to run their entire Veeam business and support all of their customers securely and in a multi-tenancy type fashion in order to basically run their Veeam business from this single pane of glass. And you can think of it as managed service providers that are so used to RMM tooling, right? Being able to track what's going on in all of the environments of all of their customers from that single pane of glass. And Veeam has developed this console to look and feel just like one of those traditional RMM tools that MSPs use. But we went a step further too. We do have a really rich API set. So if you've built out your own platforms, right, you're an MSP and you've already had proprietary software, you've built it out, and you're like, I don't want to learn a whole new interface, right? We have that rich API library. So you can pull that console data right into those already built platforms and workflows. So you don't have to worry about learning a whole new interface, right? You can just pull that data as needed into your current workflows that you already might have and have established, and you have your technical teams already trained on. So it makes it super flexible, super easy. And then not only that, but we have a lot of service providers that have their own channels, right? They have their own channel programs. So it might be a large service provider, cloud hoster, large MSP, and they have MSPs that actually partner with them. So they can deliver this Veeam console to those resellers as well, too. And they can set up permissions to where, the reseller or the customers can only see certain things or self-service capabilities that they can set the permissions to where, the customer can, just view the status of their backups, but they really can't do anything. If they trust the organization a little bit more, It might allow them to set some policies and stuff like that, but it's very very flexible in what the organizations from a self-service capability can do. So very feature rich, a lot of good capabilities that our service providers know and love. So it's super important to have that piece, especially as our service providers scale. Right there, when we talk to managed service providers and cloud hosters, it's all about scalability and growing their business, which is super important. Everyone wants to continue to make money and continue to stay in business. So from that aspect, our research and development team spends a lot of time to make sure that all the front end office stuff is there, right? Like the billing, the licensing, the provisioning, and all that makes it super easy for them to quickly onboard customers and scale their business.
Mike, what I'm hearing from you is that if you don't have a backup solution as a managed service provider, you're not offering it. Veeam actually has an all-encompassed type of software console visibility, including APIs that allow you to deliver a complete backup solution for their customers and partners, whether you want to use their console or you want to integrate it already into your existing management system.
Exactly. And Veeam, we don't have our own SaaS solution, for instance, right? We don't have our own cloud. We rely on our service providers and our cloud hosters to provide the services to their customers. We rely on our cloud hosters to be that offsite backup repository, right? So if they built out a large data center, they can offer the disaster recovery as a service, backup as a service to those customers and catch those offsite backups or deliver full replication and be that secondary data center. So Veeam, we don't have our own cloud. We rely on our service providers to be an extension of us. So yeah, it's definitely super important that we make sure that we're developing the technology and staying with the trends, so our service providers have can have quick speed to market and deliver that value to their customers.
Mike, I've had the pleasure of putting together a workshop for Veeam, and this workshop included like the installation of walkthrough, the creation and deletion of EC2 instances to test out the backup and recovery. As a managed service provider, if I want to use Veeam, for backup as a service, am I signing on, I'm taking this and it's deploying out in my own cloud and doing a trusted relationship between them? Or is it deploying out in the customer's cloud and then it's ultimately I'm managing it there from the customer's cloud point of view? How does that really work?
Yeah, when it comes to a hyperscale like AWS, most likely the service provider is provisioning and setting up the customer's cloud within their own environments, right? So the customer may already be in AWS and they reach out to a service provider to help them cost optimize or just help them manage it, take it off their hands, right? But the managed service provider is taking care of the customer's owned environment. So not necessarily the MSP's environment that they're lending to the customer. It's most likely within the customer's name. It's their account. Service provider is just taking care of it. But a lot of times when it comes to I mentioned cost optimization and things like that, there's a skills gap a little bit when it comes to understanding the cloud and the move to the cloud. And we have a term we affectionately call bill shock when customers move to the cloud and they go, wait, what is all this, right? Why am I paying for all this? This isn't what it was like when we were on premise. Well, the cloud runs a little bit differently. There's up times for certain servers that you not necessarily need, and you might not know it's running, and then you come to find out it is, and then the bill's high and everything. So a lot of the customers are reaching out to their service providers to help them with those environments. And the same could be said for backup as well, too, right? So, they'll reach out to them not only just to help them protect those workloads, but make sure that they're cost optimized, they're secure. Security is a big one. Ransomware can still affect those cloud workloads as well, just like they can on-prem. So making sure that backup is a comprehensive part of that security measure is definitely another reason that organizations are reaching out to service providers as well, too.
Part of Veeam's installation, I know going firsthand during the setting up of the EC2 policy, you talked about bill shock, is that Veeam gives you a comprehensive estimated view of what this policy is going to cost you to enable it for backups. I think that's actually huge now because a lot of people are paying attention to all the costs. Just like anybody going to the cloud, they're like, oh man, I'm going to save a bunch of money. If you
Yeah.
use it right and you turn things off, you're going to save a bunch of money. And then there's also backups on top of that, where they didn't realize that they should be backing up. On an on-premise environment, you had everything backed up locally. The cost was already allocated in CapEx. Everything was set. Now this is more of an OpEx type cost where you're managing over time and your bill is going to be a variable cost. That was the bill shock for everybody, is that it's not going to be a flat fee, for all the
Right.
resources.
Yep, exactly. And the cost calculation you mentioned, the cost estimation, those tools are built into our products. So Veeam Backup for AWS provides that cost estimation calculator. And I think you went through that on the one with Sam. I do remember that there was a screenshot of that. I don't have a screenshot today of it. But yeah, we do provide the tooling that you need. And then also just from a thought leadership perspective, we are always putting out resources around how they can optimize costs, how they can be more secure within those clouds, and those service providers can leverage those pieces of content too to help them kind of understand. Maybe setting up, like let's talk about security for a second. Maybe setting up a logical separation within the cloud to help those workloads stay secure from ransomware. There's a lot of different methodologies that you can put in place to help, but our service providers a lot of times look to the vendor to kind of help them with those that thought leadership. And then we're doing a lot of the research on our end, and things that we share with our service providers not only help their customers stay safe and protected, but also kind of help them being that trusted advisor as they walk into these organizations and say, yeah, I can help you, and this is how we can do it, right? So
I don't think there's been an instance where I've noted that Veeam is not able to help some certain customers out, because you're ultimately backing up existing infrastructure, existing instances that are available within AWS. There's a bunch of things that you guys do, not only from a full instance file level recovery, VPC backups. I want to talk about the console from an MSP or managed service provider perspective. I have this console. You said single pane of glass
yeah.
for me to view my customers. Is this all my customers in a single area for me to review, or is it one to one to many?
Yeah, no, it can be one to one if you drill into it a little bit, but you do have an overview dashboard that gives you kind of the health status of alarms and things that might have went wrong overnight. For instance, right? You wake up and you're like, oh, having your cup of coffee, reviewing your overview dashboard, and it's going to show you right away like these things happened last night. These backups failed, or these policies were set to expire. Just things that you might not have known were set up, and then you get that comprehensive view. But then you can drill into by customer to really get a view of that organization and what's going on in that environment. And then of course, if you have to do anything within the environment, you can do it from that single pane of glass as well too. And the tunneling, how we're reaching all of these how they're reaching all their Veeam customers is through a technology we call Veeam Cloud Connect. And Veeam Cloud Connect sets up that secure tunnel between the service provider and those workloads, right, within AWS. So Veeam Service Provider Console is run networked on Veeam Cloud Connect. And Veeam Cloud Connect also provides the offsite backup capability. So if you're going to be sending backups from one environment to, say, a service provider's data center for like disaster recovery, for instance, the encryption is going to be done via Veeam Cloud Connect. And that tunneling has been built. It's been around since like 2014. And that's where our service providers traditionally were creating their backup as a service and disaster recovery as a service solutions, or built on that networking technology. Just made it super easy. So like if I was a customer and I had Veeam in my environment, I could easily find a service provider that had the Cloud Connect technology. I could find that service provider within our products, and I could select that service provider, and I could send my backups to their data center super easy. So it just made everything nice and convenient. But when it comes to the networking of Veeam Service Provider Console, that's how that networking works. So they can reach all of their customers from that single pane of glass using the Veeam Cloud Connect technology. So it's all built in and prepackaged. It makes things really seamless and easy.
Mike, when you say that I can move it over to an offsite or a different data center, you're saying it doesn't have to be a hyperscaler. It could be an on-premise. Like I can actually send my data to an on-premise.
You can. So that's a big value add for Veeam backup for AWS in itself, and then also a value add for our service providers is if they have an organization that wants to repatriate certain workloads back to the data center. Maybe they found that they work a little bit better, they run a little bit better and more cost effective within the data center. But right now they're in the hyperscale cloud. They can move those backups to the on-premise environment. Now they have that workload. They can spin it back up, and they can effectively run it from their on-premises environment. We're not a migration company, but that
I was just
benefit,
about to say they're
yeah,
migrating.
right, exactly. But we don't, we're technically not a migration company. But the fact that you're able to move those workloads around as needed makes makes it super easy and makes it super portable, but also opens up the offsite backup, that 3-2-1 rule as well too. So if you want to keep your data offsite, we all know that there's redundancy in the cloud, and there's a lot of different regions AWS has and things like that. But to be super secure and super safe, you can move those workloads offsite. You can house them with a another service provider. Maybe you are a service provider that has a data center and you want to keep them within your data center. You can provide that offsite repository for all of those workloads via with Veeam.
Everybody, we're talking with Mike Loos, who's a senior product marketing manager for Veeam Cloud and service provider. Our topic today is expand your services portfolio with backup as a service for AWS. Our discussion has been around not only using the Veeam console, but actually managing it from an MSP perspective. And we just wrapped up actually talking about doing your backups to on-prem. Mike, can you reverse that? Can you go from on-prem into the cloud? And I don't want to say spin it
Absolutely.
up because we're not talking about migration, but
Right.
can you reverse that effort?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to, if you're, say your backups are currently with a service provider and you want to move everything to AWS, your service provider can absolutely help you with that as well too. So if you want to start backing up from one region to another, or if you want to create different accounts, say you'll have a production account and a backup account, you can move things around too. And we have multi-cloud capabilities as well too. I won't mention the other competitors, but there's the option if need be to do that as well. So the hybrid and the multi-cloud trend right now, it's really taken off. Veeam fits seamlessly within that trend right now.
So Veeam plays well with others and other
Oh yeah,
hyperscalers. It's not just one. We've talked about an MSP and using the console and the value add for them to not only log into the console and one-to-one or one-to-many, depending on your permissions and needs. Maybe they're only managing this or that. What is the complete value from me and as an MSP to tell my customers to utilize Veeam? I want to say, hey, listen, you sign on us with a backup as a service. Why do you want to do this? Well, guess what? Here's what we can offer you.
right. I would say the flexibility of Veeam would be the number one thing. Market leader as a backup company, not just in the enterprise space either, across all segments. The mid market to SMB. If you have a service provider that's built on the Veeam technology, they first of all know they're getting that really good technology. Plus, they're getting the service provider who is going to be offering that expertise around Veeam, so the customer doesn't have to worry about learning the backup systems. They can just go to the service provider that builds their business on Veeam and provide that solution to them as well too. And I would also say just we already talked about it, that single platform to be able to protect your virtual, your SaaS, your cloud-based workloads, AWS, and we just keep expanding, going into Kubernetes now with the Kasten acquisition. So as infrastructure evolves, Veeam is lockstep with the industry trends and making sure that we have a data protection solution for pretty much everything at this point. And as a service provider, we did a poll on a webinar before, and we asked the audience, how many backup tools do you typically use? And over 50% of the audience said they're using 5 or more backup solutions. So, one of the biggest value adds is put it all under one umbrella, have one single platform, and partner with a company, Veeam, that has built out a service provider program that is built for service providers. As cliche as that sounds, but it's true, right? With that 24/7 support, we have solution architects that used to be with service providers. So they can, once it's not like they're learning something new, they understand the service provider's business model and how they need, how it works and how quickly they need support. And right, they understand like, hey, time is money, right? We're trying to get our customer back up. It falls on the service provider's shoulders to get it done. And then they have the backing of Veeam with that support to help them. And then once the service provider matures with Veeam for a while, we have the Veeam competency program, and that really showcases the service provider skill sets, gives them a lot of visibility to customers that may be looking for as a service. We have a partner directory on veeam.com that anybody can go to. It's ungated. Go to the partner directory. You can find these competency partners by solution. So whether you're looking for a SaaS backup as a service solution, you're looking for disaster recovery, you can search by these competency partners, and you'll see that they have the expertise. They've been vetted by Veeam. Their business model, their technology, everything's been checked off by Veeam. And it's just another value add, right? It's another marketing engine for our service providers. They're badged by Veeam essentially. So yeah, so Veeam puts a lot of pride and investment and technology into helping our service providers be successful.
Mike, I like the poll that you did. How many backup solutions do you have? And on average, it was 5. And here's my thoughts on this. Do you know why they have 5?
Well, because they probably have a bunch of different environments that they're trying to protect, and they need different tools for it, I would assume.
My assumption, yes, I'm going to go with that, but my assumption is trust. Is that they don't trust one solution to be able to provide a complete backup to all of those environments. And I agree with you that one solution and most solutions don't fit all. There are others out there that say that they do all of them. But I think as Veeam, as a trusted advisor within that area, that if you were to go to your current customers and say, hey, listen, how many backup solutions are you using, or partners, whatever, and they'll say one, you. Because it's the level of trust that you're able to complete and do what you say you're able to do, and through the test solution. And I love how, so with Veeam, you can actually test the restore, right? You can automate some of the testing capabilities to do a restore. I think that right there is a value add, because I don't have time as a guy to go in there and click every single button once a week to test out a restore. I want to go through a test process and make sure that this is valid.
Yeah, we've been working on like the Veeam or Veeam Disaster Orchestrator for it's been a few years now since I've been with Veeam for 4 years. But since I've started with Veeam, that product itself has just been growing and growing and growing, and the testing and the automation that comes with that and the reporting is second to none, really. Right now with our service providers, they can provide that solution on a one-to-one basis with our customers. But I know with future releases, they're talking about making more capabilities for our service providers to be able to provide that technology as in a multi-tenancy fashion. So just more to come on that. It seems like every release with all of our products, there's just more service provider capabilities. And it's exciting for me too, because, as a product marketing manager, my goal is to market our technology, but it's also to help our service providers provide that thought leadership, blogs and webinars, and just making sure that they understand what's going on with the industry trends, and then also what's going on with Veeam. Like, what's up with these products? How does the product affect me as a service provider when I'm trying to put together a Veeam powered solution as part of my backup business, right? So it's super exciting. I love doing stuff like this with you too. This is great, man.
Mike, I'm going to challenge you right now, and I'm going to put you on the spot, is what are Veeam's capabilities for backup solutions and services? And I'll start you off with obviously the EC2 instances. I can back up my EC2 instances. But what are some of your other capabilities as a service provider that I can tell my customers that Veeam is able to do that we could do for you automatically?
Yeah, I would say EC2 is a big one too. With there's databases, right? RDS as well too. But then you got to think about, once you've backed up those workloads, the storage capabilities, right? Being able to tier that storage to make like long-term retention archival, things like that. So S3, we did just a lot of work with our S3, repositories, and you can target those for sure. But just recently in its latest releases, it's all about targeting those for that object lock, so you can make sure that they're protected from ransomware and making them even more secure, because security is such a big topic right now. So I would say not only from like the workload standpoint, EC2, RDS, and just a host of different, name the acronym, but being able to store those backups in a way that it's like, I need these backups today. They're in the like close to production, but not quite. But if you want to get those even colder, we have the capability to be able to tier that storage, and it makes it super super flexible for sure.
It's an automated capability. There's not much more I need to do besides check a box or kind of integrate it and
Yeah.
say, hey, listen, I want to tier this storage for use case and cost optimization only because I want to retain it for 365 days. But after the 90-day mark, I want to just archive it in Glacier to save some cost.
Right, exactly. And we have the policy setting within the solution itself that you can set up all of that, that retention policy standards. You can set those, and the data will move, and it'll do it all by policy, which that makes it super easy for a service provider, because it's I never I hate to say it's you set it and forget it, but essentially it's true. But with the
Yep.
service provider console, you're able to see those. You can see those backups when they take place, and you'll be alerted if something did go wrong, and if something happened. But being able to set those policies and make everything automated, you talk to any MSP, automation is king. They love it because it reduces their workforce and time, and saves them a ton of headaches when having to do everything manually.
And when you're expanding not only your backup as a service for AWS, think of the automated stuff that Veeam has built in. Mike, one of the things that I also like about that is the retry stuff, right? First of all, I don't think there's really a backup admin. There used to be backup admins. So all you did was manage backups day in
Yeah,
and day out. You got in, you click the button, and you're like, failed, darn it, I got to retry, go troubleshoot it, and you spent all day working on one server, rebooting it, and you forgot about all the other 20, some hundreds of backups that failed. But the retry feature that's automatically built into it means I don't actually have to go in and click a button until
yeah.
it gets to a certain point that I need to investigate it.
Right. Yeah, and you can set those as well too. So, say for instance that you set up the retry, and then it's for some reason, maybe it's something outside of the Veeam technology or whatever. You're going to know if something eventually went wrong. But then again, once that retry is a success, you're going to see that populate as a green check mark as well too. So it's kind of nice, right? Because you get to see everything from that single pane of glass and Veeam Service Provider Console. And yeah, you might see some things failed, but that retry is in the background, and then you can go, take 5 minutes to, take care of some other business, and then come back and be like, okay, it's good now. So, yeah, definitely a huge value add.
Mike, I didn't even know about the service provider console, but everybody, we've been talking about, expanding your backup as a service for AWS with Mike Loos from Veeam. And with regards to the service, the console itself, and, Mike's been indicating it's like a single pane of glass, but if you think of all the features, you think of all the capabilities, your other accounts, everything you're tied into, it gives you really that view, and an API integration that says, maybe I don't want to go to the console. I want to integrate you into my own
Exactly.
management console. That's fine. That's capable and very doable. Mike, let me talk about security a little bit in with regards to some of, obviously accessing the environment. Can I lock down the security of the console? Can I lock down the security to a single, partner that I want to view? And how does that traverse down to being able to restore access my backups?
Well, when it comes to security with just the console itself, like I said, it's built on that Cloud Connect technology, which is a secure encryption that's for the networking piece. Once it gets into whether if you're going to be housing backups at the service provider's cloud or within, AWS, for instance, on in this call, but I would say a lot of the technology that's built around immutable backups, locking down the backups and things like that. I don't know as much around as far as like the console itself, you know, because it's run on that Cloud Connect technology, it's going to be secure to begin with the encryption while it's in flight, the data's in flight. But just once it gets to the repositories and you have the Veeam the capabilities built in for immutability and things like that, the data is going to be secure. It's going to be protected from those backups too. So a lot of times our solutions will leverage, like for instance, the AWS APIs to be able to set the immutability, lock down that data. So, write once, read many, capabilities that are out there. So leveraging what the cloud is already offering, what AWS is offering, to be able to make sure that those backups are secure and, potentially safe from ransomware.
Nice. Mike, people who are at VeeamOn right now, where can they go? Where do you want to send them for more information? What's
Yes.
happening?
So we have a partner booth that's going to be set up all day and pretty much well into the night. And you come by, talk to us, talk about partnering with Veeam, our pro partner network. We'll talk about the VCSP program. That's the Veeam Cloud and Service Provider program that I've been talking about today. We can talk about Veeam Service Provider Console. There's going to be what they're affectionately calling the Veeam Playground. There's going to be labs set up. You'll be able to check out not just the cloud solutions for AWS, but you'll be able to check out Veeam Service Provider Console. Ton of sessions. Go to if you haven't already, please set up your agenda. If you're going to VeeamOn, check out the agenda. We've got a ton of sessions, and we have a lot of partner-facing sessions as well too. So be sure to check that out. I'm actually doing a session on. Let me just check the calendar real quick. But I'm doing a session on Wednesday, the 24th at 11:15. We're doing a disaster recovery as a service session and how to keep businesses ransomware resilient by utilizing our service providers to offer disaster recovery as a service. So be sure to check that out. Super excited. I can't wait. I'm always excited for VeeamOn. So I'm sure you are too.
This is my first one, so I'm really excited to be able to attend it as a guest speaker. I appreciate I'm just so honored that they asked me to come there and speak on behalf of not only like the Hitchhiker's Guide to Building a Community, which is a great topic for everybody to join. There's multiple sessions. The first session, actually the second session, I think is like Tuesday, 9 a.m. Jump on that. There's an online session that's happened and we did the recording. Mike, since this recording is going to live on forever, and if you didn't make VeeamOn, I'm sure that stuff's going to be available, but this will always be available. Where can people find out more information if they want to join the partner program?
I would just say Veeam.com. Check out the partner pages that we have out there for Veeam Service, for our Veeam Cloud and Service providers. We have, there's free trials out there. You can talk directly to our technology teams. The Veeam R&D forum, you can easily Google that. You can find that via the Veeam.com as well too. But it's ungated, and that's where it's basically a direct line to our R&D team. You can see the chats that are going on between customers, service providers, and Veeam's R&D, and you can see, what issues are plaguing customers today, and then of course with service providers too. And you can also get a little bit of an insight into what Veeam is doing to help mitigate that and build new technology and future versions to meet the requirements that they're seeing from the community. So super exciting stuff. But yeah, definitely Veeam.com, Veeam Cloud and Service Provider pages, and you'll be able to get in contact with us and a host of other resources and content and blogs and all that good stuff.
Nice. Well, everybody, you heard it here talking not only about the Veeam console, but as an MSP and how to access all the information in a single pane of glass, but also to help out your customers and provide them value, not only down to their actual instance level, to the RDS level, to the FSR, the file level recovery, but you can also store things onto their on-premise data center or vice versa from on-premise into the cloud. Veeam has a complete solution for you as a partner to provide value, and you don't have to use their console. They have a complete set of APIs that integrate into existing. Now, today we've been talking with Mike Loos, who's a senior product marketing manager with Veeam Cloud and Service Provider Group. Our topic was expand your service portfolio with backup as a service for AWS. Mike, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, John. This has been a pleasure, and I can't wait to see you at VeeamOn next week. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking forward to meeting you in IRL, as the young folks say, something like that. I'm looking forward to see you in real life. I appreciate your time on the show, man.
Yeah, same here. Thanks, John.
All right. My name is Jon Myer. You've been watching the Jon Myer Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify, because guess what? We're out of here.